So around students with disabilities, the education system is letting down too many students with disabilities. There are too many children who can't go to school. They're excluded, don't have a sense of belonging, don't receive the learning adjustments they need, as recommended to schools from their medical and allied health practitioners, and experience bullying, restrictive practice, physical and emotional harm. What changes are needed to transform the education system to support teachers, schools and families for better outcomes for all children with disability?
Great. Thanks, Gail. Well, obviously this week we've had the Disability Royal Commission come down, and it has got some really strong recommendations around education. I think, like so often, education gets reduced to some sort of really simplistic headlines in the media, and the media really focused on the one recommendation around phasing out special schools over 25 years. The report is far more expansive than that, and I think that's our message to policymakers, to thinkers in the space, to what can actually happen, is to look at it as a whole and to see it as, I guess, a real challenge to all of us about how we can make education better for students with disability. We work with around 15,000 families across the state, all different types of disability. As an advocacy organisation, they ring us when things are going wrong. But we do stop every year and say, when it's working well for your children, what are those key things? Because they're the things that we need to amplify and do more of. And I think I was really sort of heartened to see that what families are calling for is in fact reflected in the Royal Commission. And the three key things we hear from families are leadership matters. Leadership is where the game is at. And a culture of inclusion, a culture of let's listen and learn about this together. We're going to make some mistakes along the way, but we can, your child is welcome and we're open to trying to support them to meet their potential. That sets the tone for everything. That we have an incredible resource in our education support offices, tens of thousands of staff across the state, but often a staffing level that we don't talk about, and that they really need to be part of the conversation. We really need to be investing in their levels of skills and qualifications and capacity. They can be such a resource to the teacher and the school as a whole, but it's a workforce that we don't really talk about enough and invest in that area. And the last thing that families talk about is really making sure that teachers have the planning time and the professional development to support students best. And that comes back to resourcing. Of course it does. So they're the things that families are calling for. It really aligns with what the Royal Commission is talking about. And I think it has to be a really collaborative conversation where families are at the table to make some positive change.
Anyone else would like to add on that topic?
I think just to add to what Karen was saying, one of the things we keep hearing about is consultation. I think this is a critical part of co-design. We actually don't need consultation, we need co-design involving parents, educators, teachers, everyone, the experts in the room to talk about what is best for our young people.
And the young people.
And that's what I mean as well, the young people also.
Keisha, do you want to add anything around this?
So I am a disabled young person, not in school anymore, but also work with an org that focuses on psychosocial disabilities in schools. And I think, as simple as it is, and sometimes it seems like too simple of an answer for the disabled young people about what is helpful for them. So we talk a lot about lived experience being people's expertise, and I think we have made a lot of steps within a lot of systems, but in education, having a look at lived experience, but we have a long way to go in that. And what I hear from students with disabilities a lot when I work with them and when they come up and have a chat is students just want school to feel safe. And that's not a huge ask. It's really, really the bare minimum. And a lot of schools do things really well. And then I see a lot of students in schools that are just really having one bad time. And a lot of it is, education for whole school communities, but particularly and making sure that they like have the resources and the time and all of that to be able to actually, one, understand what a young person is going through and what that student needs, and be able to facilitate that. And of course, there are cultural changes within a wider school community.
Exactly.
But when staff are the ones really working with that student by individually, that's where students are kind of expressing that they need that support straight away.
Yeah. And again, in the Road to Work session, I'd like parents and carers and other people in the room today to keep an open mindset around what supports and changes that need to happen, because Parents Victoria, we're dealing with, and as with Associated with Children with Disability, we get a lot of contact from parents with their children who are being excluded from school because the supports aren't in place to give the teachers a break and give the support they need to do what they need to do. And principals are hearing all the time from disability advocates around making reasonable adjustments, and they get some heartache from that piece of thing. So again, as a collective, it would be great, as you say, Andrew, if we could all sit down around the table, and maybe we might do that external to government, to co-design, as we're saying, as a collective in relation to identify the problem, give some solutions, but really express the benefit of that going forward. We have go Raylene, and then we'll wrap it up because I'm conscious we're going into lunch break.
Just looking at the question, transforming the education system, do we need to look at also transforming the education space? Because I know that a lot of our students with disabilities cannot move around in the restrictions of the class space. So physically, to be there and to be able to participate, the space doesn't allow it. You've got so many children, you've got whatever it is, chairs, tables, bean bags, whatever, and they cannot fit their equipment in there to be able to be there as well. So is it the space? I know the department works on so many square metres per child, which excludes a lot of your students in the first place if you haven't got the extra space. And it also works for teachers who are in wheelchairs, etc. Cannot move around their classrooms. So expand the question, maybe, what changes?